All right. So thank you all again for being here. This is week 2 for Intro to Mindfulness with trauma sensitive tips and tools. So we're going to start right away with a 5-minute sit. And it's going to be building on skills that we learned last week as far as the breath awareness and the body awareness goes. So get comfortable. If you want, you can turn your cameras on or off, and my voice will be guiding you in and out of the 5-minute sit. All right. Oh yeah, and if I think everyone has their mics off, just make sure your mic's off. And here we go. Settling into your space, however feels comfortable to you, seated, laying down, standing. Start to bring your attention, your focus to your breath. You can see if you can start by following your breath all the way excuse me. And then see if you can follow your breath all the way out. And this continuing of seeing if you can follow the inhale from the beginning to the end, and then the exhale from its beginning to its end. And then letting that go and just coming back to a natural breathing rhythm, just allowing the inhale to come in and out. Maybe noticing what it's like to go from this focused attention on the breath to this choiceless awareness. And then just making sure again that everyone's microphone is off. And then coming back to following your inhales all the way in and following your exhales all the way out. Noticing if there's a change in your experience with the breath the second time around, following the inhale from the beginning to the end, and following the exhale from its beginning to its end. And then seeing if you can stay with one more breath. And then this one. And then see if you can stay with this breath. And then letting that go. And then seeing if you can first become aware of your full body. We're going to move into the body awareness portion now. So maybe noticing where your feet are connected to whatever it is they're connected to. Traveling all the way up the legs, noticing where the legs and the bottom are connected, then traveling all the way up through the low back, the upper back, the front side, and the arms, from the hands to the shoulders, all the way through the top of the head. And then from the front to the back, seeing if you can become aware of your body in its entirety and its aliveness. And in becoming aware of body, it's all about exploring, observing, noticing any sensations that are coming and going or changing, moving, morphing. So seeing if you can find a space in your body that is present with immediate sensation. And if that is difficult for you to find, you can even take your hands and rub them together and create sensation between your hands. Maybe you're able to find sensation, aliveness in your feet or in your back. Once you've located this area in your body, see if you can keep your focus there and notice or observe, explore any sensations that might be in that space. Sensations can appear or arise as tension, tingling, heat, coolness, openness. There's really infinite ways to describe and observe sensations, and there's no wrong way here. And if you're noticing neutral or no sensation at all, then note that that is the awareness of the body. That is the practice. See if you can notice the sensations changing. Do they stay the same? Do they intensify? Do they soften, dissolve? Do they move? Maybe keeping this idea of sensations arising as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral rather than painful or not painful. And then taking a moment, if feels good to you, placing your hands on your own heart, finding your own heartbeat, or just noticing the comfort of your own hands on your heart space. And then take a breath into your heart space, inhaling through your nose and exhale, sighing it out. Maybe setting an intention for yourself for the rest of this time together. We have a little less than an hour to go. Maybe coming back to the reasons why you're really here. Hopefully, you get what you need out of tonight's session. All right. Gently come back into this space. Maybe open your eyes. Feel free to turn your cameras back on. We're not going to practice until for a little while. So if you want to show your lovely faces. Awesome. So we do have a couple new people. I'm just going to briefly recap. And hello to everyone who maybe came in while we were meditating. I was just taking you through a breath and body awareness sit, just to kind of touch into some of the skills that we talked about last week. And again, my door is always open if you have further questions. An hour is so hard for me to try and fit all of this stuff in. And not that I know it all, there's just, I guess that's what happens. You get better at like refining how you understand and then give your shares, right? So that's what we're doing tonight. Well, what I'm doing. So I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I run a nonprofit, I teach mindfulness and yoga in person, virtual. I assess youth programs, and I am writing a book. This program that I'm doing this practicum through, that's the website. Please check it out. if you are interested in becoming a mindfulness meditation teacher yourself, they offer scholarships. And I said this before to last week. I'm going to say it again. They say they don't offer full scholarships when you apply, but ask for it because they do. I received one. So, and then Southside Liberation Center. Yeah, thank you. If you're in Chicago, Southside Liberation Center, this is my mentor from that program. This is what he runs. And they have tons of different programs, even virtual. So if you're not in Chicago, they have lots of virtual options too. So check them out as well. All right, cameras on or off. Make sure you have everything you need. If you don't feel like sharing, you don't have to talk at all. That is never an expectation. And just maybe keep in mind or keep asking yourself, what does community mean to you? And how do you want to show up in this community for yourself? And know that there's no expectation for you to, again, share or even have your cameras on. So, community builder. Even if you weren't here last week, you can still think about this and feel free to answer it in any way that you want. You guys can unmute yourself or put it in the chat. Did you, between last Wednesday and this Wednesday, notice any mindful moments, or do you? Is that something that you're already aware of and it's already a practice? And if so, what are they? And when or where were they? And any other thing you might want to add to it. Let me pull up that chat. And don't mind me, I do the awkward silence too. I just like to give people time to think. Yeah, that's a really good time. Trying to be mindful, to give gratitude before bed. Thank you. I like that. That's a really good time. How do you mind sharing a little bit about do you have like a ritual or anything that you do for that? Or has it just been something that you're like laying there and it pops up and you're like, oh yeah, let me practice?
I've been trying to focus. I've been trying a lot for like years to be more intentional, but recently, how I am doing it is I'm not very fulfilled with like my career right now. And so I'm trying to be mindful of like trying to see the silver lining in everything. And so, like, what can I be grateful during this time? Okay, well, I can work remote, and that's very nice because then I could spend more time with my partner and the people that I want to spend time with. And so I'm trying to do that more intentionally by writing it in a notebook so that I could go back and be like, I'm never in lack mentality. Like I'm always filled, no matter what the situation is. I am always filled with abundance. I just need to see it. I need to change my perspective to see it.
I love that. Are you carrying that notebook around with you, or is it like right by your bed?
It's right by my bed. And then I try to another thing that I'm trying to do right now too is like in my planner, I write whatever I have accomplished so that when I go back, I can prove to myself that I am moving towards the life that I want. That I'm not just like lazy or I didn't do anything. Like I actually did something.
Yes. It's hard to see the baby steps when you're in it, you know?
Yeah, it really is.
Man, it's super hard. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. I need to keep a journal, like a dream journal by my bed, but I like that for gratitude too. Keely says, being with what is unfolding rather than designing, doctoring my future with such intensity. Yes. Let me read that one more time. Being with what is unfolding rather than designing, doctoring my future with such intensity. Yeah. So it sounds like that's just like a moving meditation of like all day long trying to practice not trying to control. And I don't want to speak for you, but thank you for sharing. I just wanted to start with that question, just as a reminder that we have, I think I talked about this last week, many moments. Yeah, good. We have many moments throughout our days where we become mindful and we don't even realize it. Like when we're driving and we get somewhere and then we're like, wait, how did I even get here? That's actually being mindful in that moment of being mindful, of becoming aware that you don't know how you even got there. So you became aware that you were probably dissociated in some degree, right? Off in la la land, worrying, planning, whatever. But you becoming aware of that, that's the practice. That's mindfulness. And so just as much as we can remind ourselves that we're always doing it, the more we're going to really train ourselves and rewire our brains to have that positive mindset of, I am doing this. I am a mindful person. I'm not just trying to be mindful. I actually am mindful all day long, because it is this ebb and flow of coming in and out of being aware. And Eckhart Tolle, if you read, I don't want to ruin it, New Earth, but at least my interpretation of it explains that when you become aware of ego, awareness dissolves ego. So the two can't, like, ego can't really be doing its thing when we're watching it. We're like, oh, there's ego. And then what usually happens is ego is like, oh, yeah, there's me. So it's an ebb and flow, and we're doing it all day long. So pat yourselves on the back. All right. So real quick, we went over mindfulness a little bit last week, like the definition. I just wanted to see if anyone wanted to give it a shot and try their own mindfulness definition. Again, there's no wrong answers here. Just this play of, well, what do I think mindfulness is today? Because it might change day by day, minute by minute. So if we have one volunteer to take to give us their gift of mindfulness definition, that'd be awesome. And you can put it in the chat too.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hi. I would say my idea of mindfulness is being present and in the moment. And even when my mind may leave from that moment, allow myself to even have the awareness that my mind drifted, and then bring it back to whatever that target is, whether it's being with family, celebrating, because I know if I'm practicing mindfulness, saying, okay, I'm going, because sometimes we think mindfulness has to be this like quiet thing that only happens in solitude. And mindfulness for me can happen in an active environment as well. So say, for instance, when my family and I just celebrated me and my dad's birthday last week, being mindful to enjoy the time that I'm having with them, not just going to my cell phone and scrolling through social media, and, really taking, observation of that time, and just being thankful for that moment and being in that moment. For me, that's a way of being active mind, using active mindfulness.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, exactly. I feel like what you're saying to me, I'm hearing, yes, you can sit in meditation and practice mindfulness all day long, but you're now moving that into your everyday life and making sure, like, hey, am I intentionally being here with whatever I'm choosing to do in the moment, whether it's sit with family or even do work. And I think someone put it in the chat too about intent. Let me check with the chat. Doing anything with intent. Yep. Mindfulness means maintaining a moment by moment awareness of our thoughts, feelings, body sensations, and surrounding environment accepting without judgment. Beautiful. Yes. I love that. All right. Thank you. So just keeping moving. Last week we talked about the foundations of mindfulness, and we worked on body, and the breath is included in the body awareness. This week we're on feelings, and mind. I should have highlighted the mind too, my bad. So we're going to talk about feelings, like the feeling tone, and even like the mind tone. So just as Daisy had put in her definition of mindfulness, that very last part, accepting without judgment, when we're becoming aware of our feelings and our thoughts in mindfulness practice, I think one of the biggest pieces is that withholding of judgment, because we are taking exactly what we just did in that body awareness, noticing the sensations changing, morphing. We're trying to do that with our feelings and our thoughts too. So I don't want to like ruin the practice, but we'll get there. I don't want to ruin the rest of like the class, because I have it all planned out. So yeah, that's where we are this week. And last week I thought it was really important. We went over the attitudes of mindfulness. We're going to bring this up again today, because when we get into working with our emotions and our feelings, that's where it can be really, just as much as the body can be activating, regardless of trauma or not, we experience stress in our body. Our emotions and our thoughts can stress us too. So just remembering that we can try and cultivate and embody certain attitudes that will help us in our personal practice, help us continue to show up, help us continue to have trust in our practice. And remember, the humor piece was big. I should have put a joke in. I'll put one in next week. And again, you can Google this. There's just so many benefits to mindfulness. And I think they all go hand in hand. I think that you can't have one without the other. This idea of improved general health. Well, yeah, once you decrease stress, your health improves. And then you feel better. That means you're taking care of yourself. You probably are telling yourself you love yourself. And then it makes it that much easier to go out into the world and be in relationship with others. And you mean it, and you feel it, and you have enough to give to them. When we don't have enough, the hindrances of mindfulness, this is what you can look at as obstacles. And what I'm realizing too is these hindrances really are reflective of the feeling tones and the mind tones. Like if we were to label and organize our feelings and our thoughts into these tones, they would all probably fall into, we could probably like narrow it down to certain categories, like these hindrances. So hindrances just means obstacles, something that is like stopping you or making you afraid to show up, or just, not empowering you to show up to your own practice. And so there's 5. The first one is desire for sense pleasures. And that's not to say desire is bad. I actually think, and lots of spiritual teachers will say this, desire is a beautiful thing to have. It's actually passion. It's what keeps us alive. It's what inspires us. It's what ignites us. So it's not that desire is a bad thing, right? But it can become an obstacle when we are attached and we're craving. And we are unable to just accept that we had a great experience and let it be, right? We have a negativity bias, which keeps us safe, which means we're constantly seeking pleasure experiences. Anything that doesn't feel good to us, we're like, absolutely not, that's great. That's intelligent. It's again just about becoming aware of, oh wow, I realize I've been ruminating all day, looping back on I can't wait until I'm out of work so I can go home and have that glass of wine. Speaking for myself. You know what I mean? So um it's not a bad thing. It's just really becoming aware of how present that is, if it's there. Aversion or not wanting, so like resistance, or like um having ill will, or like maybe even some anger towards not wanting to show up, not wanting to do it right. And then sleepiness, lethargy. I think back to the window of tolerance, which I'll show on a slide here coming up, but that's kind of like, we can probably label that in like the depressed state, or like hypoarousal, um, where you just don't have any energy, any empathy, any apathy. You're just, I mean, you are apathetic. You uh, are discouraged, really, probably. And then restlessness, kind of the opposite, this like restlessness in the body, like constantly feeling like the body has to be moving. And then the worry in the mind is constantly looping. And then the last one is doubt, just not trusting yourself, not trusting that this practice is working for you. That can be extremely paralyzing. So these are not to like, uh, put a cloud over your practice. It's really just to become aware of, oh, I can categorize certain emotions and thought tones into these labels or these categories, so that I can just work with them and be aware, and then start to notice what other things are there when I'm feeling A, when I'm feeling B. And we'll get into more of that. We'll actually practice that soon. And always, if you have questions along the way, throw it in the chat. You can unmute yourself and interrupt me. Before we move into the practices, I wanted to do the trauma sensitive mindfulness piece first. So last week we talked a little bit about trauma sensitive mindfulness, and I realized I don't think I explained trauma. And just in short, one of the ways I like to describe it is it's an experience, like an unexpected experience that overwhelms our capacity to cope with that set experience. So mindfulness, when it comes to mindfulness and trauma, if you're looking at this screen, I really like it. It explains that. So mindfulness, it's pointing down to attention regulation with the mind and the focus, body awareness, and then emotion regulation, and then how that all becomes this catalyst for, or this like pathway essentially to self-regulation. So yeah, when we're talking about a trauma-informed approach, that really just means that, so if I say I'm a trauma-informed instructor, that means I'm teaching from a trauma-sensitive lens. I'm approaching the class as if everyone in the class has a trauma, but not in the sense that I'm like pitying them, right? It's just more of an awareness that like, I have no idea what people are going through. I just know that, at least from my own, I have a lot that I go through. So let me just be very sensitive to the fact that I don't know what people are going through. And so what that looks and feels like is giving you choice and agency. Like I'm giving you guys the option to have your cameras on or off. Language, making sure language is inclusive. Language is gentle. Language is inviting. I'm going to offer you, if it feels good to you, at your own pace, things like that. And then in person or not, virtual or in person, set and setting equals safety. It's really important, especially if you know you're going to be working with a sensitive population. Really be mindful of the space that you choose to do your classes in. And then when it comes to trauma, resourcing and referrals, I am happy to resource and refer you, help you figure it out. It's really just about knowing your own capacity. I am not a licensed therapist, so I would definitely be resourcing people out if they came to me and said, hey, I just did that yoga with you, and now I feel like I got to talk to somebody about all this. And then that's where I would come in and say, hey, let's get you some numbers, but I'm not the one. And then when it comes to our own practice, it's all about us being aware of our own window of tolerance. Meaning, what are my signs of dysregulation? When am I no longer tolerating the experience in front of me? But also, when am I regulated? When do I feel relaxed and open? And what are the cues in my body and in my thoughts and in my like felt sense that are telling me I'm safe and I'm in my window? And then resourcing, I had talked about this a little bit last week. So we did the breath awareness earlier. If any of you were feeling like, oh my gosh, this breathing is just totally making me anxious, it's not doing it for me, that's when you can tap into your five senses. You can shift your attention from your breath to your sense of sound. So you don't have to stay. You can even open your eyes in a meditation. It's always about doing what is going to make you feel supported and safe. And mindfulness is just such a beautiful practice. I think that is naturally trauma sensitive on its own. But we have to talk about it so that we are keeping ourselves safe in our own practice. And then we're able to also support others in theirs, because it is community. And then so last week I talked a little bit about two practices, how you can widen your window of tolerance, focusing on a candle flame. The point is being able to see how long you can hold the candle flame visual in your mind to start building that mind's eye and that space of that this is your seat of intuition, your pineal gland, but it's also like a space of tolerance where we're able to tolerate. So building that up with a candle flame practice, or even placing an object on your forehead and noticing how can I notice the object there, and then how long can I notice that object for. And then I added on here for this week mindful gauges. So and I have TSM, that's trauma sensitive mindfulness. David Trelevin, he's an excellent author, mindfulness teacher. He wrote the book Trauma Sensitive Mindfulness. This is where I learned a lot of this from. But mindful gauges is really, they just help you discern what you want and what you don't want, what you like and what you don't like, right in the moment. I wrote on here, gauges guide you to what you need in this moment, and they're dynamic in how they show up. So think about when you're hungry. Sometimes you hear your stomach growl. Sometimes you see a commercial and you think, oh, I'm hungry. Sometimes you hear or you smell something that makes you realize you're hungry. So that's a mindful gauge right there, telling you you're hungry. I like to use this one. Think about a time where your phone, like a notification went off, and you either were you were like aversion to it, or you were open to it. Like that's an easy one right there for yourself. I'm sure we all have like a time where we looked at our phones and we're like, ooh, I can't right now. So that's a mindful gauge. You probably felt tensing in your body or something, but just start paying attention to what you say yes to and how that feels in the body, and what you say no to, or paying attention to, can you even say yes and no to things? It's really just about becoming aware of the body talking to you all the time, in many different ways. Okay, so I think we're good on time. We're going to move into the main themes of tonight: emotions and then thoughts. We're going to talk about emotions and then practice, and then thoughts and then practice, and then questions and answers, and then we're done. So awareness of emotions. I'm sorry that this picture, if it's not, I wanted to do it different, but it's really hard to find an emotions wheel like for free online. And anyways, the point is check out emotions wheels if you have never heard of them. The main reason why I love teaching with them, especially around awareness of emotions, is because this one, at least right here, shows you like, whoa, there's already like 50 different emotions right there. So that gives us more of a vocabulary and more of a toolbox to work with when we are becoming aware and doing emotion, like mindfulness practices around emotions. So what are emotions? I just typically explain emotions as energy and motion. Feel free to throw in the chat what your own definition of emotions. And then also throw in the chat, where are emotions? Where do you feel emotions in your own body? And even starting to think about, why is this a foundation to mindfulness? Why is it necessary to even become aware of our emotions? So we got 3 different questions here. Signal to us, letting us know what we need. Absolutely. Absolutely. Just like sensations in the body. Hold on, excuse me. Just like sensations in the body, they are carrying information and telling us things. Emotions are doing the exact same thing. Why is it a foundation?
I kind of think of associating it with like the car signals, like especially with the gas tank, like if it's empty or if it's full, like the car's not going to be running if you're not checking in with the car. Or I feel like the different emotions can go with like the different sensors in the car. And if you're not checking in and maintaining the car, then it's going to die out. So just like with us, we're not checking in with our emotions and gauging ourselves. We're not going to be able to not just maintain ourselves, but we're not going to be able to properly run as our like physical body. It's giving us clues on how to operate and optimize our operation as a body.
Yeah, I love that. Yep. And then going along with that, because you were saying, yep, like basically it's right in the moment. It's a reaction in the moment. It's our truth. There's nothing wrong with it, right? It's actually very intelligent. Yet again, here we are finding out that our bodies are just so amazing and really are working for us all the time to tell us like what we like and don't like, what we want and don't want in the moment. Back to that desire. It's okay to desire. It's okay to go after the things we want, and it's okay to say no to the things we don't want. All right, so we're gonna practice. So for about 5 minutes, same thing. Feel free to turn your cameras off, get comfortable. I'm gonna take you through a sensing memories practice. Emotions need to be valued. Let me read that real quick. Not always this way. Yeah, they really do. They get a bad reputation. and we're here to dismantle that. All right, so the sensing memories practice is just about, I'm going to have you recall some emotions and some memories along with it, and you're going to use your mindfulness skills that you've been learning to sense this memory. You're going to call in your 5 senses, and but you're going to turn them inward. So instead of like noticing what was happening in that memory outwardly, you're going to turn and practice inwardly and try and find um what's there. I don't want to speak for you because, and don't worry if you feel like neutral or nothing. Again, there's no expectations here. All right. So just arriving into your space comfortably through your breath, taking a nice inhale through the nose and exhale, sighing it out. And doing that 2 more times. Inhale, exhale at your own pace. 1 more time. And just allowing yourself to maybe notice your body, become aware of your body sitting there, sitting in this space. And then when you're ready, seeing if you can bring to mind a time, an experience where you felt genuinely excited. Genuinely excited. And when that memory comes into your space, or if you are having trouble thinking of one, think of something that excites you. So, this feeling of excitement, once you have this visual or this idea, see if you can notice where that excitement is arising or living in the body. Maybe notice where in the body you feel that excitement. What sensations are there around that excitement? Do you feel an expansiveness? Do you feel maybe butterflies? And again, there's no expectation of what you should feel, if anything. Just noticing what arises when you are excited, genuinely excited for something or for someone. And then gently letting that go. And when you're ready, bringing into awareness something on a scale of 1 to 10 that is maybe only like a 3, but something that makes you a little anxious. Like maybe it's, making sure you get to bed on time to get up in the morning on time. Something that makes you feel just a little anxious. And then see if you can locate that in the body. Where's this anxiousness manifesting? And are there sensations around it? Are there even thoughts, maybe certain thoughts that are coming with that? And if so, go right back into the body and notice where those sensations are arising. And then gently letting that go and bringing to mind something, an experience, or maybe even someone that brings you or has brought you genuine joy. So, a time where you felt pure joy, joy in its rawest form. That smile where it just feels like it comes from the inside out. And once you have this idea of joy, see if you can notice where in the body joy is arising or any sensations that are arising around joy. And then when you're ready, gently letting that go, bringing your hands back to your heart, thanking yourself for trying something new if that was new for you. And then just knowing, leaving this practice, knowing that at any time you can come back to this practice of remembering and seeking out joy in your own heart. It's right there. Take a breath in through the nose. And then exhale, let the hands float down, gently come back into this space. You can keep your, actually, yeah, turn your cameras back on if you feel comfortable, just for the thoughts practice. I mean, the thoughts conversation. It will be quick, but not too quick. So similar to this idea of awareness of emotions, now we want to become aware of our thoughts. And I kind of hinted at that in that last practice, just becoming aware of thoughts that might be typical when you have certain emotions. So thoughts, what are they? These same questions, feel free to put your answers in the chat. What are your thoughts? Where are your thoughts? Why do we need to become aware of our thoughts in mindfulness practice? Why is it a foundation? No wrong answers. Feel like I see people putting stuff in the chat. Yes. I call thoughts brain chatter. Yep. Yep. A lot of times in yoga and mindfulness, you'll hear it called the monkey mind. The monkey mind. Our thoughts are constantly going. Our mind is just doing its job. I also think our mind loops a lot too. Our thoughts loop. Yeah, sometimes I feel my thoughts can come from a higher expression of myself, and sometimes it's looping. Ooh, I like that. Yep. Ooh, wait, did I miss one too? Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, I missed a lot. Okay, here we go. Thoughts equal memories. Your mind's interpretation label. Yeah, I like that. My thoughts can be my internal dialogue about whatever is challenging me at the time. It can sometimes be endless chatter. Yep. Sometimes from prior programming. Beautiful. All of that. I love that. So just as there's endless thoughts, there's endless like reasons for thoughts, which means that's why we should become aware of it so that we can just have a little humor about it, number one, and laugh because our mind is doing its job. And then number two, have choice and agency over that. If we notice ourselves looping, well, then that's it. We notice ourselves looping, and then we get to choose what we think next. And then we get to keep playing that game with ourselves all day long, every day. And that's where the humor becomes very handy. And sometimes people even like to name like their attitudes or their emotions, right? Or their hindrances or their obstacles. So just having that like playful spirit about what you become aware of, what you find is there, especially when it comes to your thoughts, because we take them very personal, and they're not really, especially because they're so spontaneous. Speaking of spontaneous, we're going to count our thoughts. So we have 9 minutes left. We're going to count our thoughts for just like 30 seconds. I love this practice. It's just a quick exercise to gain a real sense of like, dang, like, oh yeah, okay, like I have no control over what is happening in my brain a lot of the time. So get comfortable. I'm going to read. Yes, if I'm looping, it's important for me not to believe it as truth and identify. Yes, Tara Brach always says, real. Ask yourself, is it real? And if it's true. So a lot of times it's real. We're having these emotions, the physicalness, sensation, our body is feeling things, our thoughts are really happening. But is it true that we aren't worthy of whatever it is we are, saying we're not worthy of at that time, or whatever it is we're looping on? Is that really true? And at least for me, I would say probably like 75 to like 90% of the time, it's not really true. It's just me having my own self critic there, looping and all of that. So get comfortable. 30 seconds. What's going to happen is I'm just going to let the clock go, and you're going to try and count your thoughts. You're going to close your eyes, and every time a thought pops up, you're going to count it. And every time you realize you've counted a thought, you're going to count that as a thought. So be aware. The mind is tricky, and our thoughts, just see how many thoughts you can count. And again, don't set any expectation for what's going to happen here. And I'll do it with you. All right. Ready? Begin. And time. All right. If you were able to keep track, throw it in the chat how many thoughts you had. I was trying to keep track, but count at the same time. It was a lot. 7, 15. Yeah. Yep. 40 plus, 22. Rice Krispies crackling. Yep. 11. Yes. Everyone's is so different. Sometimes I've experienced like kind of like two thoughts at the same time, which is really interesting. So yeah, I hope that was just a fun little practice to get you a real sense again of like, oh wow, just in 30 seconds I had that many thoughts. Like I need to go easier on myself. Let's see what's going on. Yes. Funny, after first thought, I repeat the second because I kept thinking about what I just exactly. Yep. All right, let's see. We got 5 minutes. Let's do, I didn't talk about rain with emotions. Yeah, I'm going to talk about rain real quick, and then I'm going to talk about the labeling, and then we'll practice those two next week for our first sit. And that'll be awesome. So rain is a really beautiful meditation, like balm, like a soothing balm, to bring into your practice to work with challenging emotions. So RAIN is an acronym, and actually my friend Amanda here first introduced me to it. So thank you, Amanda. Tara Brach works a lot with RAIN. If you're really interested in it, check her out. She's amazing. Yeah, RAIN is awesome. So it stands for recognize, allow. They say investigate, I say inquire, and then nurture. And then there's this piece, I should put it on there. It's called after the rain. Like once you do the rain, then you sit in what's called after the rain. So what happens is this is a more somatic experiencing and a somatic observing rather than a cognitive observation, and is nurture. Oh, I should have put that on here too. I'll break it down next week on the slide. So recognize, allow, inquire, nurture. So first you recognize what emotion is there in the body. Then you allow or accept or acknowledge. It's this idea of not changing it. You're just saying, okay, I'm sad. I'm sad. I recognize I'm sad or I'm mad and I'm accepting it and it's here. So then you move into the I, which is inquire or investigate, and you're just taking your mindfulness tools and you're saying, okay, well, what sensations are here around this sadness or this anger? Where in the body do I feel this? Uh, is there anything else coming up with the sadness? Is there another emotion there? And then what does that feel like? Where is that? So it's just this kind of like unpeeling of an onion somatically. Uh, and then when you feel you've done that enough for yourself, then comes the end, the nurturing. And that's where you're able to figure out what you need in the moment. Maybe it's a hand to the heart. Maybe it's a full on hug. Maybe it's opening your eyes and taking a big breath in and out. Maybe it's moving into a breathing practice. Maybe it's coming out of the meditation and making yourself tea and calling a friend. It's really just, there's no I can't tell you how to nurture yourself. That's really something that you get to learn through this meditation. What works for you, what nurtures you. And then when all's said and done, it's this idea of sitting there, like think about after the rain, what it smells like, what it feels like. It's kind of this like cleansing. Well, I don't want to speak for you, but just this, even the sound of like after the rain, it's just this almost like choiceless awareness space where you're just there and you're thanking yourself for showing up. So let's see, we got 1 minute left. Thought organizer labeling, we will do that on Wednesday. Like I said, we'll do a little bit of rain and then we'll do this thought organizer meditation, and then we're going to move into self-compassion practice and loving kindness, which are really, really beautiful practices. So does anyone have any questions? Again, I feel like I talk so much, but I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you trying new things if this was new to you. And I appreciate you guys, showing up and supporting me in my quest to just be better at sharing these practices that really mean a lot to me and help me. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Yep. Okay. No questions in the chat. Any questions, comments? Yes, you are awesome too. I'm so glad you made it, Anne. You're welcome, Keely. You're welcome. So awesome to see you guys. Yes. Have a good evening, everyone. Feel free. If you're ready to hit the road, let's take a breath together. And then we'll close out. So wherever you are, let's sit up nice and tall. Maybe shrug your shoulders up, relaxing down. And then when you're ready, let's inhale through the nose. Exhale, sigh it out. Awesome. May we all be free. Thank you, guys. If you have any questions until next week, hit me up. And I'll see you in the meantime on social media if you're there. If not, you got my email. Stay cool, drink lots of water. You're welcome, everyone. Have a good night. Bye.